fight back.
Sabi ni Mugiwara, Bruce PH, okay, let's just reduce this on your top 10 greatest Filipino boxers of all time. This will take, time to actually explain and siguro gawin na lang natin top 5. Din Quinito. Who is your top 5 greatest Filipino boxers of all time?
Okay, Manny Pacquiao definitely number 1. Number 2 is Flash Elorde. The debate is always between the two of them. But I think with all due respect to Flash Elorde for what he has done, he held the WBC Junior Lightweight Championship for over 7 years. Had a lot of successful defenses, but a lot of them were actually in the Philippines. No? So, between the two of them. But Manny Pacquiao, because of the fact that he's in the record books as the only fighter to win championships in 8 divisions. So number 1 si Pacquiao, number 2 si Elorde, number 3 has to be Donaire. Donaire is a shoo-in to be a Hall of Famer, so I think he should be up there. I think number 4 would be Luisito Espinosa. You remember he did have 8 successful defenses as a WBC featherweight champion, and he also won the WBC or WBA bantamweight championship. So he's got to be up there too. So yung 4 na yon. Yung panlima, nako, eto na. It would have to be Pancho Villa. I think Pancho Villa is revered as possibly one of the greatest world flyweight champions ever. And what he did in winning the championship at the age of 23 yata yun? Or was it 1923 when he won the championship?
Jimmy Wild.
Jimmy Wild. This was at the New York Polo Grounds, and he knocked him out in the 7th round, and that was a phenomenal victory. And I've seen films of that fight, no? And si Pancho Villa was parang the precursor of Manny Pacquiao. He was flamboyant, he was colorful, and I would say precursor because before Manny Pacquiao became a born-again Christian, and before he reformed, he was as wild as Pancho Villa. And I think credit to Manny Pacquiao that he reformed and he became the kind of man whom you look up to. But before that, even when he was a champion, medyo wild si Pacquiao, no? And Pancho Villa. Unfortunately, Pancho Villa did not have the opportunity to reform, unlike Manny Pacquiao, because he died at the age of 25. And he was, at that point, still the world flyweight champion. He did lose his last fight to Jimmy McLarnin, but that was a non-title fight. And, a lot of people to this day are saying that si Pancho Villa was actually killed by the mafia because laki ng pustahan in that fight between Pancho Villa at si McLarnin. And Villa lost, and a lot of big-time gamblers lost a lot of money, and they took it out on Pancho Villa. Pancho Villa was had to undergo oral surgery because of an infected tooth, but he actually died of what they call Ludwig's angina, which is a condition where your larynx or your windpipe closes and strangles you, actually chokes you to death. Some people are saying that he was administered a large dose of anesthesia before the operation, and that could have killed him. So a lot of these conspiracy theories, and maybe JM, one time you can devote a show on Pancho Villa's life, because I was probably the last man to interview Pancho Villa's widow. At that point, she was like over 80 years old, and I was able to meet her. And this happened to me, oh my gosh, siguro mga 15 years ago. But I sought her out, and I was able to find her living in a shack. Her name was Gliceria Concepcion. And they were married, but Pancho Villa had died when Gliceria gave birth to their only child, si Francisco Villedo Jr., who has passed on also, no? And she also passed on. But ang dami niyang sinabi sa akin ng mga conspiracy theories, at siya yung nagsabi sa akin, pinatay yung asawa ko, sabi niya. So, wow, that was 1925.
Yeah, and that's the first time I've heard about this, Din Quinito. No, throughout the years, yun nga, sinasabi, namatay siya in his early 20s. Some would even blame yung ngipin niya pa nga. It's an infection. it's being blamed for that. But this is the very first time I've heard na meron palang parang conspiracy na he was
Mhm.
taken down by the mafia. Wow, wow. We'll go ahead and take a
That's
look
a
at that as well.
conspiracy theory, but it
Yeah.
is not proved. It is not proved. Let me just qualify that. It's just a theory. But I wrote a 10-part series on the life of Pancho Villa that was published in a Sports Weekly magazine when I was writing for that magazine many, many, many years ago. And I preserved it. Nasa akin pa. It's a 10-part series. And you know what? That could actually be the basis of a movie. Kasi, to write about or to tell the story of Pancho Villa in a movie, that would be a blockbuster. That would be amazing. And, you can, who kaya can play the part of Pancho Villa? It's got to be someone who is like in his 20s. So, hahanap tayo ng
Charismatic. Someone
actor.
charismatic and naka-brush up yung buhok, din Quinito.
Oo, someone in his 20s.
Well, Digito, and just to answer that final question from our audience, I think when we are giving list naman, it's always subjective naman, It's not written on stone. So it really depends on the analyst describe the historian. Kung sinong ilalagay nila dyan, top one, even of all time, the likes of Bert Sugar, Teddy Atlas, magkakaiba rin sila listahan because again, it's very subjective. It's not written in stone. Now, ako naman, just in my personal opinion, of course, I agree with Did Quinito. I would give number 1 to Manny Pacquiao. I think there's no need to explain that anymore. Number 2, I would give to Nonito Donaire for his accomplishment of 4 division champion. He's defeated future Hall of Famers himself. Number 3, and again, it's just my preference, I give to Pancho Villa because I believe that si Pancho Villa paved the way for all of this. And he's fought in a time, in an era wherein napakahirap mag-world champion, especially for a Filipino. When he climbs the ring, di ba, Din Quinito, sinasabi pa, sinisiguan siya, monkey, there was a lot of racism back in boxing nung time na yon, and he was a victim of that. And the way he punished Jimmy Wild, a Hall of Famer, touted as one of the hardest hitting punchers sa boxing history, that's to me is just a huge deal. That's a huge deal. Number 4, I would give to Flash Elorde. Of course, huge respect. Many title defenses reigned this super featherweight division for some 7 years. And number 5, ito hindi pa tapos ang career. Hindi po kasi mahirap din Pag hindi pa tapos ang career, ang hirap pa siya i-rate because the story is not yet concluded. But number 5, maybe I would say it's a toss between Peñalosa, Don Nietes, or Luisito Espinosa. Anywho, I would not complain. And again, that's just me, So yeah, did you know any parting words? Thank you so much. Yeah.
Well, as a footnote on Pancho Villa, in his heyday, before he got married, he was escorting some of the most beautiful Hollywood stars. He would love to dress in 3-piece suits, very dapper si Pancho Villa. Bata pa siya noon, 23 years old, and yung mga kadate niya, mas patangkad sa kanya, mga blonde, and yung mga and he would go to the racetracks in Saratoga, New York. So, he was a gambler. He would go to gamble in racetracks, ganon. So he lived a very wild life. Yes, he was called a monkey and all those mga racist remarks in the ring, but outside of the ring, he was embraced as a hero. He was embraced as a celebrity in the US, and rightfully so, because he enthralled the world when he knocked out Jimmy Wild. So anyway, hindi tayo nagkakatalo sa listahan natin sa top 5. I think we got well, you did say that Luisito Espinosa is a contender for yours. Si Donnie Nietes would make it in my top 10 list, not in the top 5. I think top 5 is reserved for those fighters whom I mentioned. And, that's a revered cast. And si Luisito Espinosa, for what he did, two-division world champion, and the longevity of his reign as a featherweight champion, he has certainly acquitted himself. Ako nga, I would feel that Espinosa should be a Hall of Famer as well. But it's up for discussion, and I'm so happy that we had this talk, JM, para malaman natin kung ano yung naiisip natin yung top 5 Filipino fighters of all time.